Well, hello on the Rockers. On this week's episode, Broadway, Country, and Pop comes to play with Alexa Green, who played Glinda in Wicked, by the way, and lyricist, composer, singer-songwriter Brandon James Gwinn. East Coast meets West Coast. Woo! And me, your favorite host with the sassy most. Raise a glass and let the drinks begin.
Life is a banquet, and most poor suckers are starving to death.
I'd like to propose a toast.
This is On the Rocks with Alexander, where I drink with your favorite celebrities as we talk about fashion, entertainment, pop culture, reality TV, and, well, that's about it. So pop a cork, lean back, and raise a glass to On the Rocks.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Listen to that applause. We have a full studio here. Buttons and bows and pantyhose on the Rocks podcast, a place where we're too glam to give a damn. Okay, you guys cannot make up your mind. When they first announced Dear Evan Hansen, the movie, you all were, nobody can play him like Ben Platt. Ben Platt's the original. You have to cast him. Then they cast him. The movie's here, and you're all like, he's too old. This movie is getting ripped apart. Poor Ben Platt is like, what do you want me to do? Oh, can't wait to tell you how old the cast of Grease was. Or Rent. Like us on Twitter and Instagram at On The Rocks On Air, and on Facebook, On The Rocks Radio Show. Send me an email. Book me for a wedding, funeral, quinceañera, bris. I don't care. I will show up. Info at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. The show is presented by Straw Hut Media. You can watch and or listen to our over 250 episodes, by the way, at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. And if you are listening to us, you can watch us on Facebook. Watch on a number of our syndicates, also on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire TV, and on the Outlet.tv app. Also, welcome to our family across the nation. On the Rocks is now streaming on WCRN Channel 31 in Boston. Cheers from Boston. I believe we're on Mondays and Wednesdays in the mornings and the afternoons. Mornings, it's a perfect time to drink. So hello, Boston. Share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave your phone number. I'm single, especially you hot Bostonians. 4-bedroom house minimum. Sorry, Boston. Palm Springs, I am coming for you. Join me for an evening with America's Got Talent's Cameron Ross. It's a live performance. It's an onstage interview hosted by me, a fan Q&A, some photo ops. Thursday, October 14th, 7 p.m. Go to OscarsPalmSprings.com. Get your tickets to gay. I meant today. Alrighty, let's get the show on the road. I need a sip. If you're drinking at home with me, cheers. That hit the spot. All right, Alexa Green has become one of the most sought-after new voices and rising stars of this generation. She is best known for her turn as Glinda in the L.A. and San Francisco companies of the hit Broadway musical, just a small musical, Wicked. She appeared alongside Neil Patrick Harris and my girl, Patti LuPone, in the international cinematic release of Stephen Sondheim's Company with the New York Philharmonic live from Lincoln Center. She has toured both nationally and internationally as a singer and an actor on national tours, and regionally has appeared as a guest star with symphonies nationwide, and has most recently worked in the studio with 16-time Grammy Award-winning record producer and songwriter David Foster on his upcoming Broadway projects. She has been featured on the acclaimed concert series Broadway Sings with Carole King, by the way, at Avery Fisher Hall. That's all. And Aaron Tveit, my boyfriend, on his Live Nation concert tour, and received critical acclaim for her sold-out solo show, A Shining Hour, at Feinstein's 54 Below. My show is just called The Shining. Totally different. With much anticipation, Broadway Records recently released Alexa's debut solo album, So Good. That's the title. It is so good, but that's also the title. So Good was nominated among Broadway legends Idina Menzel, Kristen Chenoweth, and Barbra Streisand, and she won the Broadway World Award for the Best New Solo Recording. Those other women were like, what? Barbra Streisand was like, how dare she? She most recently released her duet with Brandon James Gwinn called You'll See, which we are going to look at in just a bit. You'll see. Get it? Please welcome Alexa Green. There she is.
So happy to be here.
I am so happy that you are here. I know it's a little bit later for you. So I just want to dive right in. Both of your parents were musicians, so music was always kind of like happening in the household. What kind of music was it? What did you learn most about the business from your parents?
Yeah, sure.
Just diving right in.
Yeah, here we are. Hello. My parents are classical musicians. So, but all kinds of music, and specifically bluegrass. Alison Krauss was my absolute favorite growing up. My dad played her records, CDs, at the time. Yeah, and I fell in love.
Yes, CDs. Honey, I grew up on 8-tracks.
Cheers.
Cheers. You know, I have to say, though, listening to your voice and listening to all the different types of genres you've sang, I can always tell when I speak to somebody that's been on Broadway that has released an album, there's this texture that somebody's voice has from growing up with all different styles, and especially like a bluegrass type of earthy type of environment. It's this organic connection to music. And I know it's like, oh, you know, it's so hippy-dippy to say, but it truly is. And this is what your voice has. It has this texture. It has this plaintive quality. And then you go up into the rafters with some of these notes, and it's that mix. And so, you know, I think some of the Broadway voices we hear are so Broadway, you know, and it's like, well, all they listen to were show tunes. All they'll sing is show tunes. And so I really love having your kind of texture in some of these other songs. Now, I know when you were young, there was this kind of struggle. Do I become a Broadway star or do I become a recording artist? And we know from history, you know, people say, well, you can do both. Well, no. Sometimes when there's like a Broadway star that we love and they release their first album and we're waiting in line at Barnes & Noble at 9:01 when they open, and then you're like, what holy fresh hell is this album? It's like, it's so what? It's like, honey, what happened? What happened? And then sometimes when there's a great recording artist with a great voice and then they hit Broadway to star in something, we're like, wow, that's interesting. So it's not just easy to say do both. Now, you kind of went through that kind of choice. Tell me about how you worked through that kind of decision and how you really have been able to do both.
Yeah, it's honestly, my love for both is like, it knows no bounds. So I grew up, fell in love with musical theater. I saw Peter Pan when I was 4, and like she flew above the audience, and I was like, I have to do that, right? And really the biggest thing about theater for me was the storytelling.
Yes.
So, and the biggest thing about music for me as a recording artist is the vibe. And they kind of go hand in hand, right? But it's the vibe of the music and the way it makes you feel, takes you back to a memory or something, right? It's very sensory. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to do both. And I feel like I never really fit in either one. So I just said, you know, F it, I'm just going to do both to the best of my ability. It was like I was always too pop for theater and too theater for pop.
Which is funny now because in modern day Broadway, we see the future. We're really hearing modern music. We're hearing modern voices, good and bad. But this is kind of like the new Broadway. And, you know, Broadway is now reflecting what's actually happening in mainstream, which is kind of exciting. So who were some of the divas that you grew up listening to?
Bernadette, for sure.
Yeah.
I loved her. Patti, Barbara.
And then you
Christina
beat them
Aguilera,
up.
Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey. Those were the top.
Yeah. Well, and that totally makes sense. You know, that's that kind of diva quality you have, but you can't be the diva quality without the diva voice. When I listen to your album and you're hitting those notes and you're making me feel all the feels, I'm like, yes, girl. Now, born and raised in New York City, what do you think you gained growing up in the city that you wouldn't have experienced in any other city?
Yeah. So, well, I live on Long Island. I grew up on Long Island, actually. But I mean, it's a train ride away.
I was going to say, to us on the West Coast, it's all one big blop.
Yes.
You're Jersey, you're wherever, like, you're all in the same place to me, which is not
we're
really the...
not New Jersey.
Yeah.
Don't get it twisted. We're not New Jersey. Like, very different. No offense, but we're not. Yeah, New York's the greatest city in the world. You know, I do love LA. I have a soft spot in my heart for LA, but it's the greatest city in the world, and there's just opportunity. There's a lot of opportunity. There's opportunity everywhere, but right, it's like there's just a lot. So you're able to kind of take advantage of that, and the best of the best is here. The best doctors, the best voice teachers. You know, Broadway's here, so you kind of get to like dip your toe in the pond of each one and get a taste of the big leagues, I guess.
Well, and the assumption is growing up on the East Coast kind of makes you grow into being like a hardened person. Like you're able to take things a little bit more, like because, it's so busy and there's so much going on that you really have to be confident in who you are. So when I went to New York for my first time, which was many, many years ago, I expected everybody to be rude and pushing you out of the way. And it was just not that way at all. People have confidence, yes, but it was actually a really surprising, sweet kind of change to what I'm used to in LA. It's like it was nice. People were nice in their New York way of being nice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's totally, and it's just pacing. I mean, you can even tell I'm talking so fast. Like, it's just the pace. It's just fast. You just have to like constantly be doing something.
Yes. It's one thing to love musical theater and listen to the albums and listen to the divas and, want to be in plays. But then when you actually have to study it, I know you have your BFA in musical theater. When I actually had to study theater and music, it became a very different relationship. I was in this very conservative musical program where it was all about learning about, timing and the math of it and all of that. It took all the joy out of music for me. But you studied in musical theater. I love asking this question. What were your best classes that you were like, oh, I got this? And what were some of the classes that you were like, I'm terrible?
Yeah. Oh my God, it gives me like PTSD
Right.
thinking about this. Because I went to a school that was like cutthroat.
Yeah.
Right? And I will say it was one of the best 4 years of my life. It was some of the best years of my life. And the friends I made, we all went through hell together. And I will say the program has changed so much. So I think for the better. Some of the classes that I were good at, anything singing, right? Like any kind of voice lesson. I mean, straight A's, let's be honest, like all of that.
Yeah.
Right? Things I had a hard time in some of those like viewpoints, Suzuki classes. Like I just rolling around on the floor, like with bare feet. It's just like not, I'm kind of a little glamorous. Like I don't.
A little, honey, I saw those nails from the West Coast. I'm like, she's ready to play.
Like I just, like I don't get down and dirty. And like I try. I was told that I was wearing too much makeup in acting class. I mean, it's like, okay.
Same. They're like, it's bronzer. And they're like,
This is what I look like when I wake up. Hello?
I love that too. Anything with body and movement. I'm the kind of performer that I'll stand at the microphone and I'll do this and that. But you ask me to like move my body a little bit. I'm like, no, not doing it. I took Suzuki as well, and I got cast in a play. And I got the giggles so bad because we had to wear those little weird two-toe shoes, and you're like, ugh, ugh. And then I got the giggles, and then so a piece of snot flew out of my nose during the performance, and I was giggling at that, so I'm walking around the stage with this dangling book. It was glamorous.
But you were grounded and in it.
Oh,
so
yes, I was so in it.
And look, not to knock it, right? Because acting is real, so I tried. I'm trying.
Girl, I think you're doing, girl. Let's talk about this trying of yours. You saw Kristen Chenoweth as Glinda in high school. And then 5 months out of college, you were cast in the company of, the national tour. Yeah, you worked so hard, girl. You poor thing. 5 months, and then you're in, like, your dream musical. And then you went on. You understudied as Glinda, and then you performed. But I want to know, what was that audition like? 5 months out of school, and you're at this audition for this huge show. Tell me about what song you sang, and then tell me about how you felt after your first audition.
Yeah, so my Wicked audition was actually like 3 days after my senior showcase. And I was called in for Nessa Rose, who's one of the supporting characters.
Yeah.
And I sang, don't even remember what I sang, to be honest, for that audition. And they were like, yeah, you're not really a Nessa Rose. So can you come back tomorrow and do Glinda? And I was like, yes, I can.
I think I know that music.
Yeah. So, the best part of the story is at school, they never let me do Glinda because they were like, it's overdone. You'll never have to do it. And 3 days after my showcase, I had to sing Popular.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So I went to that audition. I sang When You Wish Upon a Star, the Disney song.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Soprano-y with a few little pop, sensibility things in there. And then I did all the Glinda material. And then I had like 12 more auditions for Wicked. And the reason is, some people don't have that experience. Some people go in one time and book it. But they were casting the second national tour, LA. There was a swing position open on Broadway. They had like a couple of different tracks open. So they were seeing people to kind of, put people in different spots. So I had like about 12 auditions. And sometimes I was dancing. Sometimes I was doing the sides. The summer was kind of a dead time. And then in the fall, they picked back up. I did a couple more auditions. And then, in October, I got the job.
And I want to talk about approaching the role of Glinda and even the audition process, auditioning with material that you'd probably sing around the house. You said you saw it in high school. Like, this is just this part of your makeup. And you have played other well-known roles, The Witch and Into the Woods, Mary Magdalene and Jesus Christ Superstar, Jenny and Shenandoah. What is your creative approach to playing a role that we all know and love? Because the audience needs that familiarity. You can't totally go off the rails because the audience, we've gotten conditioned to expect a certain character or certain elements that we fall in love with. But you also have to give the audience an Alexa Green specific performance. So what is your creative approach when you take on a role that is so well known?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me is to be truthful to the journey of the person. So Glinda, like, this is a story about friendship and about growth as who she is, right? She learns how to love, she learns how to accept, and she gets her heart broken by her fiance, who leaves her to be with her best friend. I mean, these hopefully don't happen to you in real life, but like,
it's like a Wednesday night in West Hollywood, to be honest.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like, it's real life situations. So there's all this fantasy and this magic, but the creative process is just looking at the journey, looking at a day in the life. And, one of the notes I got in Wicked was that, like, your right hand is Glinda's right hand. Like, that's what Glinda looks like. That's your version of Glinda,
that's
right?
You.
So, we expect, well, especially because Kristen, so brilliantly played Glinda. So you have to, I obviously got it. I sing the role. I'm short and blonde, right? Like, all these things fell into place. But at the same time, my Glinda is going to be a little bit different. I'm a little bit more sarcastic, maybe, or, my boobs are bigger or whatever. So that's just who she is that day.
I love that. It's like the costumer is like, oh God, here we go. We got Dolly.
Yes, that's it. They made my wig. They put some darker highlights in my blonde because at the time I had kind of like a little bit darker hair. So they made it you in a way.
I think we actually have some pictures of you as Glinda. A lot of people, audiences that don't study theater or have been in theater don't realize the nightmare atmosphere that is being an understudy. Being an understudy is literally what nightmares are made of. Any horror film, thriller, I don't care what you got, just call it understudy, and we're all going to be scared. And correct me if I'm wrong, but there's actually very little rehearsal that you get to do. You don't really get to do dress rehearsal and tech and all of that. You have this rehearsal period, and then you're kind of thrown in, and then will you go on, won't you go on, and then you actually do go on. Tell me about the rehearsal process of understudying Glinda.
Sure. So everybody's can be different. It totally depends on what you're thrown into. I went into the LA company that was already in existence. So I was the understudy. I learned my track. I think I had 2 weeks. I might have had a little longer. I can't really remember. It was 100 years ago. So I learned my own track. Once I was in my track in the ensemble, then I started to learn Glinda. And I had 2 music rehearsals with the musical director. I had a couple of sessions with the director or the associate director to go over the book, the script, and then you just learn the blocking with the dance captain and the stage manager, and you have a put-in. I mean, literally, that's it. It's kind of nothing.
It's kind of scary.
Yeah, and in your put-in, you're the only one in the costume, so everybody else is wearing street clothes, and like, okay, here we are doing the show for the 18 millionth time. And so then you go on, and you never know who's going to be opposite you. You never know if it's the person playing Alphabus, the understudy, the standby. You never know what Firo you're going to get. You're hoping for that good one, but you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, your first time going on as Glinda, did you get any warning? Were you able to call your friends to come see the show? What was going on in your mind?
I did. I was super lucky that I knew when my first performance was. Of course, that could have changed, but it ended up working out. Yeah, my family got to come, my boyfriend got to come, and there were like fans in the audience. And the cool thing about Wicked is the fans are the best, and they're excited when somebody new goes on. So like the crowd was cheering, it was a celebration.
That's great. I absolutely love that. Now, being in Los Angeles, being in the company, being away from home, performing every night, what are some of the challenges in kind of having that job away from home?
That sucked so much. It sucked so much. I had just graduated college. I spent 4 years in Cincinnati, and all I wanted to do was be in New York with my boyfriend and my friends, right? Everybody was like auditioning and doing all this, and so it was a little bittersweet because I had this amazing job and nobody to share it with. Obviously, I made friends and stuff, but it's not quite the same. It's super lonely, and it's so much work. So there's really no outlet to have fun a little. And here I am, like 22 years old, in a new city, in a new apartment, with a new car, in a new job. That's kind of a big deal. It was a lot of pressure. But I was super thankful that happened because it forced me to go to LA. I ended up getting an agent there. I got to do some other work while I was there. It taught me about TV and film, and I had a job, so I could pay to do all those things.
But you bring up a good point. There is this kind of lonely, isolated element. I think we all got a little taste of through COVID. You have this high of performing in this amazing show, in this amazing role, and then you go back and you're like, well, I guess I'll go to bed. You can't really go out and party in LA because you have to take care of your voice because you have 8 shows a week. Even your day off, that's not really like a fun party day off.
Yeah, and I mean, I joined a company that was in existence.
Yeah.
So, everybody knew everybody, but it's not like New York where you ride the subway home with people in your cast. It's like everybody got in their car and went away.
Yeah.
Like, okay, bye.
Well, and we in LA are we talk about New York not being friendly. We in LA tend to not be the most welcoming. It's like, how many followers do you have? Okay, we're friendsies.
Honestly, I joined Wicked before that was a thing.
Thank God.
So, dreams.
Yeah.
Thank God for that.
Okay, did you or did you not study with Anne Rankin?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Okay. I'm dropping dead. I just need to know everything about it. Your first day with her, what did you learn the most from her?
I have to say, I'm going to get emotional talking about her because I went to an intensive in the summers in high school that she was the head of.
Yes.
That woman, that legend, that icon gave me more chances. I'm crying.
Yeah.
As a non-dancer, I call myself a non-dancer. I can dance. I just don't look like a dancer. As a non-dancer, she was the kindest, gave me the most opportunity, believed in my talent. She gave me opportunity after opportunity to shine, to grow, to learn, and to celebrate the things I was good at. It was unbelievable. And she's the kindness, the giving, right? She's a legend, an icon. She doesn't have to do that, but she spent her life, giving opportunity to people so they could have the spotlight. And I will never forget those moments. And I wasn't, the star dancer. I have friends that just, got to work with her at that level. But I mean, I cherish every second of that memory.
Everybody that talks about working with her or having studied with her says the exact same thing. And, we talk about what affects us as a kid. Yours was Peter Pan. Mine was that goddamn movie Annie. Every chance, every minute. And my mom had no clue, right? But it was that voice. It was the way that she moved on the screen. It was the grace that she had. Well, she played Grace. And then knowing later, the tie she had with Bob Fosse, talk about a legend. But the fact that she remained kind throughout her whole career and really wanting everybody to be their best person. We know in this business that is not always the case. So I had to throw her name in there because I just had to know. And her being such a great teacher, let's talk about your teaching. You teach musical theater, you teach college voice, you also do private teaching as well. How are the new generation of students the most different than, say, your generation? And we're not talking about a huge gap, but our industry, social media, everything has definitely changed even in the last 5 years.
That's what I was going to say. It's all social media. And I don't know if it's for better or for worse, to be honest. Life was simpler before social media, I feel. I think mental health. I
Oh,
was
that's a good.
happier. I was
That's a really good point.
happier, not always knowing who got what I didn't. Right? Like seeing every cast list all over my Facebook all day and
Yeah.
Instagram, right? It's like, ooh, you didn't get that, you didn't get that, you didn't get that, you didn't get that, but hope you have a good day, right? So I honestly think social media plays a huge part, and that has nothing to do with the voices and all that. I mean, I got my master's in vocal pedagogy and music education, and so seeing the way the scores are written, and my friend Brandon can talk a lot about this too, like seeing the way scores are written, and the music is higher than ever before and more challenging, and you kind of have to do everything, where in the past, you could be a belter, you could be a soprano, and now it's like, yeah, you're soprano and a belter, right? Vocal ranges on resumes don't mean anything. It's like
Exactly.
soprano belter, it's like, okay, so you do everything. Like, that means nothing. So it's way different. It's way different now.
Well, I want to talk about social media. When I was a kid, and I was doing the musical theater professionally for a number of years. I didn't know that I wasn't right for this kind of role, or I didn't know that, hey, he's a little too chubby for this, because I didn't have social media telling me what the perfect norm was, what the perfect gay looked like, what the perfect influencer looked like, what the perfect, leading man looked like. I was just having a great time, and my personality and all that, I was nailing roles left and right that maybe I wasn't the best for, and I didn't know. And so to your talking about mental health, we are communicating more, and we're being more open about mental health, especially in the entertainment industry. But I think that that's only caused because we're having so many body issues. We're having so many missing out issues. Like you mentioned, if somebody got a role, we hear about it in their stories and their posts, and then it's like you're being bombarded. It's like you can't just focus on your journey anymore. There's so much noise out there.
Yeah, and then we have to also like self-help ourselves to just focus on ourselves, right? There's a lot of like, yeah, you can't, the biggest thing for me is balance. And I kind of like talk about that for myself, but also for my students. It's like musical theater is life, right? But there's also a big world out there. And so if you can feel supported and have a family and friends that love you and go on a trip or go on an adventure or have a job that fulfills you, right? Like that's really important. That adds a lot to enjoyment. It was like when I was in LA and I was all by myself, it's like this is an amazing thing that you don't get to share it with anyone.
Well, and as an artist, you have to, it's like, if you want to be in the industry so bad, learn some of the other stuff. Learn about the lighting, learn about stage managing, learn about teaching, learn about directing, producing, writing, learn it all, because the way you get to Broadway, and I'm just using big terms, might not be the way that you think. And if you limit yourself and to say, no, this is the only way that I'm going to get in Broadway or do theater, you might miss up a really great opportunity. No, please.
I was going to say I took a master class once with Lonnie Price, director, actor, and he said something that stuck with me forever. He said, we're all going to have the same experiences, just at different times in the journey. So somebody will get Wicked out of college. Somebody will do non-union summer stock out of college. And we're all going to have these amazing experiences just at different times, because there isn't a path, right? You could get a BFA in musical theater and go do something else with your life. And that's okay. That's not a failure. That's amazing. So, it's kind of interesting to think about that. There isn't like graduate, get an equity card, get a Broadway show. It doesn't work like that.
Especially now. One of my friends was doing theater for so long, and he was getting cast, and then an opportunity came to do some vlogging work, and now he's one of the top travel vloggers for the LGBT community. It's like, hey, that's what you do. Ravi round the world, Ravi round the world.
I know him.
Yes. Now, as a teacher, but also as an actor, what do you think the biggest challenges for musical theater students are today? After school, they have to hit the industry. What are their biggest challenges?
Surviving in New York.
Paying bills?
Paying bills. Having a healthy balance of life. Getting seen in New York. I often encourage people to go other places first to work and build a resume, because Broadway's just a stage, right? Like, it's amazing, but it's just a place. It's just a stage. And there are amazing actors in other cities. I mean, I have a friend that has literally, I think he's in his 50s or 60s. He's never been without Equity Health Insurance, and he works in South Florida. And he gets to play every role, every dream role he's ever wanted.
I just say I love that so much. You can spend 20 years being an ensemble in every Broadway show, or you could play some of the lead roles in some of the smaller and really cut your teeth. That's a really, really good point. I love that. And then you build your confidence for New York, or if you don't end up in New York, then you don't end up in New York. You know, there's so much content out there, and talking about actors in Los Angeles, you know, now we have all of these cable shows, and then we have all these web series, and you think, oh God, there's so much work for everybody. It's still extremely competitive. And, you know, you see that this person or this influencer gets to live their dream. So there's like 3,000 more people just like that person that want to do it. So I really like that idea of kind of feeling yourself out. I like that. Now, also being a vocal teacher, what do you think reality TV musical competitions have done towards voices? I've heard from other teachers that people get this false idea of what a singer sounds like. You know, we have that breathy, like, kind of voice, or we have the screaming voice. Do you think reality TV has harmed voices across the nation by giving a false idea of what a performance is?
You know, I don't. I think it gives it more visibility, and I think it gives people more visibility, actually. I love watching The Voice is my favorite one because are these people technicians? A lot of these coaches, no, they're performers. So there is a big difference, too, between a performer who's teaching someone and a voice teacher who understands function and anatomy and physiology, right? And
Exactly.
You can do both. You could also be a coach. And I will say, like, the coaches on The Voice are coaches. They're not necessarily voice teachers. There is a difference. But I do think that, like, no, I think it's a good thing, right? We're celebrating all kinds of different music and all kinds of individuality. And I think it just has put it in the forefront, right? It's giving people opportunity and visibility.
You're such a positive person. You're like a ray of sunshine.
I try. Meanwhile, inside I'm like, ah!
Join the club, girl. I'm like, ugh. How early can we drink today? I want to ask, you have shared the stage with some heavies. Patti LuPone, we talked about in Company, David Foster, Carole King, etc., you know, studying with Lonnie Price. What music veteran or theater veteran have you learned the most from, that when you think back of all your memories, and it could be seeing them backstage how they are, it could be seeing them their opening night, it could be having coffee with them, but who has taught you the most about career?
God, this is so hard. This is such a hard question.
That's why I asked it.
This is a little cheesy, I guess, but my aunt.
Oh my God,
my
I love that.
aunt was a Broadway actress and dancer and singer, and she's a voice teacher.
Yes.
Now, still is, and I've learned the most from her. And I'm lucky. She's in my family. You know, I sort of always say, like, I come from this line of voice teachers. Her voice teacher was Joan Lader. It's like, you know, Broadway, Tony Award-winning royalty, keeping you vocally healthy. But she did national tours. She did Broadway shows. She was a dancer first. So we have different paths, but like she's done it, and she's seen how the industry has changed from the times when, you know, you would be on the stage in front of Jerome Robbins auditioning till now sending in a self-tape. Like, what? You know, the span of that is so crazy. And so she's not like, you know, a big Broadway icon legend, but she's done it all. And she's a real person with a family. And she's taught me the most. And maybe that's why I feel like balance is important, you know, because I believe you can have it all. It might not look like what you imagined when you were a kid, but
I love that. And, you know, also, you know, when you're on The Voice and you tell that story, they're going to put like the sad piano behind it, and then your aunt's going to be there, and we're all going to cry and cheer.
All right.
And then all the chairs are going to turn around.
Okay, cheers, yes. Great.
How closely did you get to work with Sondheim for the Company performance?
Oh my God. So I personally didn't get to work with him that closely. He sort of just oversaw it all.
Yeah.
But I mean, Neil and Patti, my best friends, Neil and Patti, they obviously worked with him. But Lonnie and Paul Gemignani, they were the ones that kind of like ran, steered the ship, if you will. And that was 2 weeks. That was such a short thing. So it was like a masterclass. And talk about learning material differently. Patti and Neil have very different like ways of approaching materials. So
Tell me, spill the tea, girl.
We had Stephen Colbert and John Cryer.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like Anika Noni Rose, these amazing, pillars in our entertainment world.
And such a mashup of such different types of performers. It wasn't like,
Yes.
oh, here's all the Broadway legends. Such a unique chemistry.
Yeah. So that was my favorite part watching it. And Sondheim just sat in the audience at now David Geffen Hall and like smiled and loved.
How weird is that in your mind to think, oh yeah, he was just watching us perform. How crazy is that?
Yes, it's crazy. But I just was like, my jaw was on the floor just being in company in New York City at Lincoln Center. Like I'm rolling Patti LuPone around on a couch, like drinking a martini. What is my life? It's everything. It's everything. There's nothing better. There's nothing better than that. Nothing.
So how is the way that she did things different than the way that Neil Patrick Harris did things?
I think it was just Patti came in like off book. And, Neil was holding his material because it's film and television. They have the script and then they leave the trailer and they do it. Right. Yeah. But this is like a rehearsal process and we're finding the beats and the moments, and it was just interesting to watch the two come together because a lot of times, theater is very big and animated and film and TV isn't. So it was also that, and they're singing then. There's also dancing. It was a lot.
I got to see them perform in Sweeney Todd when they came to Davies Hall in San Francisco. And it was very interesting because this was many years prior. But it was very interesting to see. You could kind of see that on stage. I mean, they had great chemistry together, but it was a very different way of approaching the evening. Okay. Okay, let's talk about your debut solo album, So Good. What inspired you to release the album? Like in your mind, it's like, okay, now is the time to do this.
I have a best friend named Mitchell, and we went to college together, and we always knew we wanted to make a record. But I didn't know what I had to say, right? I was like, yeah, I'm a good singer, but what am I going to say? So it was sort of a capstone to my 20s is the way I thought about the record. It was like a love letter to New York, a love letter about my relationships in my 20s, the shit I went through as a performer. Can I say that? I don't know.
Yes, of course. Girl, you're Alexa Green. You can do whatever you want.
Thank you. God, I'm going to keep you around forever. So it was all of those things, and it was just like where I've been, where I want to go, and how I feel about it. Because I want to make another record, but I'm also waiting for the right moment of like, okay, this is the next thing I want to say.
Well, and I love that you're doing that. I think, like we said, in the world of social media, in the world of instant, put it out there, just put it out there. I'm glad, like Brandon, there's a story behind his album, Bullet. And so I'm glad that this is the approach that you're taking, that it really does mean something. I tell you, listening to it, you do go on a journey. I had it on the background as I was preparing the show, and then I would sit and just like really saturate it, and different points of it really affected me differently. So it definitely is a journey. What did you learn about yourself the most from recording it and then being done and be like, okay, that's a wrap. Here's the album.
That I'm a perfectionist and I'm way too hard on myself. But that I kind of demand that perfection. I demand that out of my students, out of the people I have in my life, right? It's like, and that sounds weird to say like I demand perfection, but I want it to be the best it can be within reason, right? I want it to show the flaws. We're all flawed as people, but I want it to be real and raw. And so I learned when I had a limit, when I could go more, when I could push myself more. I learned that you can really access parts of yourself in a positive way that were hard. And you can use the music and the story to kind of get through that. That's the whole point of the record.
And what do you want listeners to walk away with the most from having listened to So Good?
I really want people to think about, a memory in their own life. I want people to kind of have that reflection a little bit about something, but also to be like, yes, Stephen, that was fierce, and just like live their best life and go on that emotional, fun journey.
Well, I love that. We're going to bring on your cohort, Brandon James Gwinn, in just a moment. And we're going to also take a little peek at your music video, Get Brave. Because I just love it. But before we get into all that, I just have to talk about Jawbreaker. You played Fern, a.k.a. Violetta. Jawbreaker is just my jam. Like, it just is. Rose McGowan, I don't know what she's on nowadays, but that movie was just my end-all, be-all. And then playing Fern, I mean... It's very funny to me because you do have like this, this confidence and this aura about you. And we know that character kind of went through her transition. What was it like working on that, the musical version of Jawbreaker? I don't know if you were a fan of the film, but what was that process like? Was it a great experience, or was it like, oh God, what am I doing?
No, it was freaking amazing because I got to work with Darren Stein, who, wrote the movie. Mm-hmm. And Jeff Thompson and Jordan Mann wrote the music to that. And one of my favorite things to do, which is why Brandon's here and why I'm here, is because I love to work with writers that, are up and coming and new. And now all of my friends are established, amazing writers, but work on their material and breathe life into it. As an actor, it's like what we crave is to get, do something new that we can put our stamp on. Jawbreaker is one of my favorite movies ever. I was obsessed with it. I want to be all of the characters, in it. So I was like, I don't care who I play. I will literally play anyone. It was amazing. I'm sad it never went to Broadway. It should still go to Broadway.
Well, I'm sure it has teeth on it. I'm sure. I will invest in that for sure. Yeah. But I do want to see you play all the parts. Like maybe every night you play like a different part.
Yes, I will do that. I just need a big paycheck to do that. But yeah, sure.
Girl, we'll do it for free. It's fine. All right. Talk to us about Get Brave. Kind of walk us through it because we're going to take a peek at it.
Yeah. So Get Brave, my friend, again, here we are, composers. My friend Barry Anderson wrote this song, Get Brave. It was like a pop anthem. And we put it out with Hollow Spirit Studios. My friend Dom and Daniel have a record label and a recording studio. And we put it out, and it was to benefit Partners in Health at the time, at the beginning of the pandemic. And it's just an anthem, a feel-good pop anthem for anybody that's going through anything. And it just, when I heard the song and they asked me to sing it, I was like, yes, absolutely. And it was just the timing of it felt perfect. I mean, we just needed that message at the time.
All right, we're going to take a peek at a small portion of Get Brave, and when we come back, we are going to welcome Richard Rodgers, award winner and Drama League award nominee, and one of my favorite people to go on a gay cruise with, Brandon James Gwinn. So when we come back, but let's take a look at Get Brave.
Get brave.
All right, I am so excited to welcome to the show somebody I have met with, drank with, seen perform, then seen perform like a drunken pianist. No, just kidding. Brandon James Gwinn, singer, pianist, composer, lyricist, and producer, lauded as one hell of an entertainer by the Bistro Awards. He toured 65 cities in the U.S. and Canada promoting his debut EP, Not Too Late, on a Live Nation tour. He produced and performed the first and second albums released by Trixie Mattel, of course we know winner of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars 3, which debuted on number 1 on the iTunes Top Albums chart, by the way, and Billboard Heatseekers album charts. He also directs and produces music for Alexis Michelle, Drag Race Season 9, and produced her debut album for Broadway Records. He composed theme music for George Takei's web series It Takes Two, It decays too, get it? Oh my. He co-wrote the title track on the album Lido for Windstar. He is a 2021 Richard Rodgers Award winner and a 2021 Drama League Award nominee. He has scored, composed, and written the lyrics for a myriad of projects. He has arranged and played shows for multi-Emmy nominee Titus Burgess, 12-time MAC Award winner Karen Mason, Tony Award winner Daisy Egan, and the list goes on. And he recently released his debut album, Bullit, Bullit, during COVID. And he literally almost died. I'm not even being dramatic, but he literally almost died. Not from COVID, but from a heart condition. He triumphed, and he has hit the scene with his duet with Alexa. You'll see. He also invented some tabletop games during COVID. What? You can also see him perform weekly in New York City and on Vakaya cruises. Please welcome the man with so much talent, or ego. You can only introduce him with 3 names. Brandon James Gwinn.
Oh my God! Hi, Alexander.
Hey, girl. Okay,
I mean, for the record, there was already a Brandon Gwinn in the union, so I had to take the middle name. It has nothing to do with ego. It was just what it was. Okay.
I have to tell you, real fun when we had to type in your name to the lower thirds. We're like, how many letters? I'm paying by the letter, bitch.
By a vowel.
Yes. Okay, I have to know. Both of your personalities are so dynamic, but I have to know is how did you two meet?
Well, I was very lucky. Hi, Alexa. I was very lucky to be part of a commission for the New York Theater Barn, which is a really awesome organization that supports new writers in the musical theater in New York City. They asked me to write a show that ended up becoming a show called Small Town Story, which I did the music and most of the lyrics for, and with the brilliant Sandy Buck, who was the book writer and co-lyricist. And we were doing a series of table reads and a series of workshops. Honestly, it takes like 10 years to get a show anywhere. Like to make a musical, it takes at least 5 to 10 years. And someone, I can't even remember who it is, Alexa. I think it was Joy. Someone knew Alexa and brought her in for a table read. And the rest literally is history, because I fell in love with this woman first because she's just so talented. And it wasn't even like a singing table read. I think I was singing the score and she was just reading. And then like she came and did some demos for us, and we just kept being thrown into the mix together on this one show. And I mean, Alexa's voice is one of my favorite voices in show business. Like I'm a fan and a friend. And eventually I wrapped the score around her voice. I don't know many people who could play the part as written, except for Alexa Green, to be honest. And we just, after all the work together, we just kind of gelled and became really good friends. I think we kind of have very complementary personalities and a very intense love for wine and tapas. So
I hate tapas because I don't like sharing, much less food. Are you kidding me? It's like, 5 for the table. It's like, no, that's just for me, bitch. Back off. Alexa, what was your first impression of Brandon?
Oh my God, I was obsessed with him. But it was
Okay,
because
good.
he was brilliant and sexy and like fun, and he wrote a great show, and I just wanted to be in it. So like I had to kiss his ass a little bit. But then we just became friends.
Lies. There was I don't remember any ass kissing, but okay.
It's genuine.
Seeing the footage and some of the behind content from the recording of You'll See, and we're going to take a peek at the video, there's a lot of trust and there's a lot of chemistry going on between the two of you. What did you, having worked together, knowing each other, hanging out as friends, but what did you learn the most about each other from actually going through the recording process?
I have to preface this answer by saying, I think you're such a really great interviewer, Alexander. I learned more about my best friend Alexa in this past 20 minutes.
It's the
than
vodka.
I think I've ever known about her.
It's because I'm nosy. I am so nosy. This is why I'm perfect for this
so
job.
good at
Like,
this.
I can't
was
ask
just,
enough
like,
questions.
I was just like tuned in. I was like, fuck, I've got to like be. Oh, sorry. I can
That's
say
fine.
the F word, right?
Yeah, it's
I
$10
was like, I'm
per
gonna be on this show
curse
in a
word.
minute and be interesting. How can I possibly top being more interesting than like Alexa Green? But I think that something about Alexa, and I've actually been asked this a couple of times, is what a pro. Like when you are working with Alexa, she shows up and the song is learned. So it's not about what are we going to do, what's on, like what, not about what's the song, what's the journey, that's there. Then it's just a sandbox from there. It's like, let's try things until we find the things that are the most interesting or the most fun or the most beautiful. And that's what working with Alexa always is like. And it was like that before we became very good friends, and it's continued to be like that today. When she's a money saver, frankly, in the studio, because she can show up and save you money, because time is money, and it takes her half as much time to get something amazing done as anyone else. And it's the same with shooting the video as it is with recording it. And that was really beautiful to watch, is your friend being really good at something. And she's really good at shooting music videos. She's really good at singing. She's really good at being in the studio, which is not the same as being good at singing. So that's really cool.
And Alexa, what did you learn about Brandon?
That was the sweet.
That's very sweet.
Like, holy shit.
Not with the beats we have on tonight, girl. I'm sitting in my room with a full beat at like 11 p.m. on the East Coast.
That's so sexy.
No crying.
This is like a two-doche for me, because I got ready to teach at like 11 a.m. today, and I had to
Not
like,
a two-doche. Alexander, you know what a two-doche is, right?
It's a 2-day show, right? Or
a two-show day.
Yeah, it's a 2-show day. Yes.
So what did I learn about Brandon? Oh my God. He is like the most fun person to do a project with, because there's just joy, but like mastery of craft in it. So like, he knows the style, the vibe, what he's going for. Plus, he's like from Nashville, and that's my favorite genre of music, like country, bluegrass. So, you know, it's just like feels like home. And yeah, I mean, what you were saying about chemistry, there's like a safety in working with Brandon, and I can't speak for other people, but I suppose it's the same. It's like he creates an environment of peace and love and happiness and joy, and that lets the creative juices flow. So it's easy to work with him, and he's just a master of his craft. I mean, he's the best.
You know, you brought up one of the best descriptives for Brandon, is joy. I met him on Vakaya cruises, and we were all, hanging out. We drank way too much. And then he would get up to do his show, and there was such a joy. And even with, us hooping and hollering and, drinking and all that, the show was so well done. And, he performed night after night, but there was this joy that was at the bottom of it. So that is a perfect descriptive. We're going to take a peek at You'll See, and I've had to listen to it a few times. I was mesmerized with it, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I couldn't figure out exactly what kind of music it was. And it really took me, I was instantly entranced, but it took me many, many listens. And now, like, even just the very beginning phrases, you like ease into it, but it's this plaintive getting into it. What kind of song is this? What would you classify this music?
I think because just the sheer factor of growing up outside of Nashville, and that was the earliest exposure to songwriting I have. There's always a little bit of radio country. Like there's something about like a 3-minute radio song in every genre really is kind of a style, and it's something you strive for as a songwriter. And so there's always a little bit of just like cohesion in what I'm doing. That's kind of like what you'd call radio, country or otherwise. But I don't know. I think Bullet in particular, and then You'll See, it all kind of has a country rock roots, and then there is a particular chord in the chorus that makes it almost jazz. There's a diminished seventh. I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but the second chord in the chorus is like it. I like to go, okay, you thought you knew what genre this was? Take that. And it kind of sends it into this almost I call it like quirky pop, quirky piano pop, queer pop, So it's a little bit of pop, a little bit of country, a little bit of rootsy, folky almost. But I mean, that's a very, very long way to say I have no fucking idea.
Hello. There we go. Sorry. But I think this is really indicative, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later. But I think it's so it symbolizes this eclectic music that you've come from, and what you write. You have written so many different types of music, and scoring and composing and songs. It literally blows your mind. It's like this library of music came from one person. Okay, we are going to take a look at You'll See, and Alexa, we're going to let you go. But before we let you go, we're going to play a couple of, not games, but we're going to do a few things. Do you guys want to do something a little bit more serious first, or do you want to do something a little bit more tipsy first?
Oh my God.
Let's do serious then tipsy, I think.
Okay, all right, we're going to do a little hot topic. Tony, take it away. It's time for Hot Topics on the Rocks with Alexander. Better pour yourself another.
This is hot. That's hot. That's hot. This is really hot. That's hot. That's hot.
So hot, you guys. Okay, here's our hot topic. There is a theater, I won't say which one, on the West Coast, that announced their new production of Into the Woods. Well, they announced this production. It's a big theater. They were vilified because the entire cast was as white as milk. People in the theater industry and theater goers said, how can they possibly not have a racially diverse cast in today's day and age? After being attacked on social media by other people in the industry, some of the cast members quit when this became an issue. They literally just announced that their first production post-COVID is canceled, and they apologize for the gaffe, and they're going to be working on some of their diversity ideals within the theater company. So here's kind of the flip side of that. All theaters are struggling after COVID. Now with their first production being canceled, who knows when they can start making money, or if they can even reopen. Now it's on the table that they may not be reopening. It's been a theater that's been in existence for years and years and years, has also helped with the arts program locally. Here's a hot topic. Should we be demanding cast be racially diverse? Should we be shutting down productions that aren't? And I have a few devil's advocate things to say to that. And I'm realizing I'm talking to two very white as milk people, but this is the perspective I want, because you could have been cast in this musical. And Alexa, you did play The Witch in Into the Woods. And I have to admit, as a brown person, when they announced the cast, that's not where my mind immediately went to. But it is something that we should be considering. And now the actors are out of a job. It was an all equity show. Actors are out of the job. The theater might not reopen. I want to know what your take on this is. And I know it's kind of like a big subject, so you can take whatever aspect you want.
No, I can speak to this. I think, I mean, and totally acknowledging that, you know, I'm a very white person. Oh, I have a bruise. I had no idea I had a bruise.
That does not make you mi gente.
It still makes me very white. But I think it's a shame that that production had to close, but I also think it's a shame that they would put on a show that is so incredibly easy to not cast all white.
I mean, it's a fairy tale.
It is so incredibly easy to do a not all white Into the Woods. As a matter of fact, after Bernadette left, didn't Felicia Rashad go into the show, and like in the original production?
Leslie Uggams as well.
Yeah, and it's just like, and I mean, it's wrong no matter when it's happening. I look around the world and I don't see, all of my friends aren't white. That's just not what the world looks like to me. So I don't think that that's what should be on stage. Janine Tesori always says you have to see it to be it, and I think that we really have to believe in that. I think as an industry, we're being asked to have these conversations and to do something, to do better. In the wake of things like George Floyd, I think it's kind of unacceptable to do a show like Into the Woods that has been done since the year one, or at least since 1988, all white. I think that, you know, it's kind of silly to have an all white television show at this point. So why not? Why would you, you know? And I think that the root of the problem here is not on the actors. I hate blaming actors for things that happen at the top of particularly theater companies and management and project.
For sure, 100%.
Not the actors' fault. They have to swim in capitalism. They took a job. Now, if there's a person of color in a position of power at that theater, they might have been like, whoa, what cast list are you about to post? Like, there might have been someone, I mean, and that sucks, because then that's on them, and all these stupid white people probably are making decisions that that eventually could shutter a theater over something that is just kind of wrong. But I'm just like, if it shutters your theater, then I guess we learn from that mistake.
But how many people?
I don't know that it's a travesty.
But how many people is it putting out of a job? This could be some of the actors' first work in a long time. Also, if you don't want to see an all-white cast of Into the Woods, don't go to the show. Don't support the theater. Just don't go. A few other things happened later, but I don't want to make this topic murky. Plus, we also don't know who auditioned. It's an all-equity production. We don't know the percentage of people of color that auditioned. We know Into the Woods is a vocally challenging show. If you can't hit the notes, you can't hit the notes, no matter what. And I'm playing devil's advocate. I don't know. Alexa, I want to know your take, having played the witch.
Yeah, it can't be an all-white production. And especially Into the Woods. This is a fairy tale world. Anybody can play anything. So, yeah, to shutter a theater, I mean, there's got to be some other things going on. I mean, you can cancel a show and not shutter a theater company down. But I don't have anything to say except there's no excuse for that. You have to do better. I could give you a list of students and friends that could be in this show right now, and to be honest, with the whole losing their job thing, that sucks, but I can't tell you how many jobs I've lost. Right? That show's not happening. That's that's being an
that
actor.
is part of the business. Yeah
it sucks, but that's what happens. But that's just not okay.
Well, and now every theater, whether it's a community theater, whether it's a college theater, whether it's a civic light opera, whether it's regional, now everybody is like, holy crap, let's look at our cast list. Let's look at our cast, because now everybody's afraid.
But I have to say, it's not about just casting actors in roles. It's about having understanding, and this is not yes, now finally this is being brought to light, but this is an age-old thing here, right? It's about equality, inclusion, right? Not just about having a diverse cast. It's about inclusivity and having an equal playing field. So it's not just we have 2 African Americans in our cast. That's not a diversity initiative. That's not taking action. That's optics. And so I'm not okay with that either. You have to practice what you preach. And if you don't know how, you have to educate yourself and you have to do better.
Well, and this has been a conversation for many, many years. My first experience hearing about diverse casting was when Audra McDonald was in Carousel, and it was the biggest topic. It's oh, wow, they cast a black person in this role. We've never seen Carousel like this, and it was such a big topic. And, of course, we know she did so well from that, and her career, went on from that. So how many years and years and years ago was this kind of topic? And devil's advocate, are we going to cast a black Evita then? Is that what should be done next? Should we worry about that?
Already cast a white one.
A white one who can't sing.
Patti LuPone played the part originally and to a fabulous effect, but she is a white woman. She's Italian. She's not Latina. And
they're close enough.
Well, I mean, I just think the thing about it is it's just the obvious thing that we're saying is that there have been every role, every major role in every musical that you can probably think of, except for maybe Evita, has been earmarked for white people for 100 years. So it's that's what we're fighting. We're fighting that history that is so unfair, just kind of in its own existence. Not to mention the gender disparity, and I mean, it's just the lack of most stories we tell on Broadway are very white and very cis, and they're very misogynistic in a lot of ways, and they're extremely racist in a lot of ways. I mean, even Rodgers and Hammerstein, while writing South Pacific, didn't manage to be completely not racist. They still were a little racist in writing a show about not being racist.
Well, it was really indicative of that culture as well. But Brandon, then we cast somebody actually Latina in Evita, and then we got Elena Rodger.
There was somebody else. Come on. It's not just Elena Rodger, and poor Elena Rodger. I'm sure she's a very nice woman.
I'm sure she's very nice.
Damn, that was boring. Oh,
that's even being nice.
I would rather watch Patti phone it in from a chaise lounge in Connecticut on Zoom.
From P-Town, right?
Right? Somebody a stage manager with a flip phone could come out on stage and she could sing it from Town Hall in P-Town in street clothes. I mean, I would watch Patti sing just about anything in that format, and I think that this is a missed opportunity. Where the hell, we've got dark Broadway theaters. What the fuck? Just put Patti LuPone on an iPhone. Patti LuPone on an iPhone, produced by Brandon James Gwinn. I mean,
we know how much she loves cell phones.
See,
Yeah.
I'm on board.
All right. Well, that was our hot topic for this episode. All right, Alexa, before we let you go, we're going to play a little truth or sip. So I know you both have a little sippy sip. You either have to...
I'm drinking sake.
Oh.
My boyfriend got me sake because we're having Asian food tonight.
You haven't eaten dinner yet?
No, I've had a little bit.
And you're having Asian food? I guess nobody's bottoming tonight. Okay. Two bottoms to make a right. I've met you both. Okay, so truth or sip...
Look at these, though. Look at this. This
gorgeous.
is my coaster.
Oh, gorgeous. Gorgeous girl.
This woman sent me coasters of her album cover.
I sent coasters out, too. No, this is classy. This is what you do, Brandon. Brandon,
I have a collection of coasters. I need On the Rocks coasters.
Yeah, you got it. We're gonna send you this and a flask. No problem. So I just have to tell our listeners, Brandon James Gwinn's PR package for Bullet was one of the best PR packages, and I received stuff from networks. I received stuff from HBO, from anything you can think of. Unbelievable. Oh, there you go. Unbelievable. It literally was like an Academy Award gift bag, but you wanted to keep everything. From the black nail polish, which I use, by the way, the cassette tape, USB, genius.
Fun, right?
Yeah.
Fun. I thought it would exist, so I did some Googling.
I mean, it's so good. Although, again, social media, I saw a bunch of people post pictures of theirs. I'm like, why'd you send it to that bitch? They can't get you PR. Grindr's not PR. Okay, so truth or sip. Tony, take it away. We're going to do a little truth or sip. Truth or sip on the Rocks with Alexander.
These intros.
All right, truth or sip. You either have to answer the truth or you have to take a sippy sip. All right? First one is for Alexa. Your least favorite moment from Wicked?
Oh my God, there's dead silence here. My least favorite moment. I'm happy to answer it. I don't even know what I
mean, as performers, we all have that moment in a show. You're like, oh, it's time for this. Okay.
Honestly, feeling like I was. I don't really know. Not the perfect physical type for Glinda.
Huh. Okay. All right.
With that, what you will.
Okay.
Who said that? Who's that asshole? Was it Scott Rudin?
No.
Okay, this is for both of you. Who is the most overrated Broadway diva? Could be from past, present, truth or sip.
Hard questions.
Overrated Broadway diva.
Oh my God, I can't say it because I'm a voice teacher now, so she'll probably come to my studio next week. So I'm not.
I don't think I have an overrated Broadway diva.
I definitely have one, but I'm not.
Oh, I don't want to say this.
Sutton Foster. What?
I'm gonna get canceled on Twitter, but Sutton Foster.
I said it. Girl, we could have a whole episode about that. I cannot.
Sutton Foster.
And a lot of people say that. So who's casting her? Okay.
I think she's fine. I just don't see what the big
She's
deal is.
fine. She's so nice. She's not good. She's not bad. She's just nice. Okay.
I'm gonna work with her next week, and I'm gonna be like, "Fuck, I said that thing."
Okay. Truth or sip? Worst show you've ever done? You're like, that was a shitty production.
I can't say it. I'm friends with all these people.
Sippy sip.
I have done this won't get me in trouble because I have done Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat 8 times. since like the time I was 16 to the time I was like 30. I've done this show. And it is horrible every time. Like it's like the worst. Like it's a bad decision, and I'm like, oh, it's fine. I'll phone it in. I know the show, and I like it's such a bad show.
I think it would just be fun to just do. I mean, you could be coked out, drunk, whatever. Nobody cares. You just put on that
Not
rug.
anymore, Alexander.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did it at a summer camp once when I was a camp counselor. There's stories.
I will say though, the show I'm thinking of though, like. Every time I do a shitty show or like a shitty production, I meet freaking great friends because it's shitty.
It's the best bonding experience you can ever have.
To be in a whopper, yeah.
It's like being in war with your troop. That's exactly it. Okay, Brandon, we know that you also, you'll play piano and people can come up and sing, or they'll give you their music and sing. What song do people ask for the most that makes you cringe? But every night they'll bring that, somebody will request that song.
The thing about this is I actually like this song, but the like obsession with it is just getting so fucking old, and it's not an easy song to sing. But don't tell like anyone that. But it's Creep. Radiohead.
Oh, yeah.
It is so. Everyone thinks that they have stumbled upon some gem that no one has ever discovered before, and they just want to sing it. Then they get to the part. It's because of what Carrie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's because she sang the shit out of it once, and she gets to the part where she wails, and everyone like, because the rest of it's pretty easy, it's low, and then you get to the one part where you wail, and nobody can actually do it. They think they can do it because they've had 6 vodka sodas, and it's always just a disaster.
All right, this is for both of you. Who is a big name that you've worked with that you don't really have to work with again?
I thought of her immediately, and I'm not gonna say it.
Oh my god, you have to text me after.
Me too.
Alexander's like, me too.
Me too. Spill the tea.
I'm gonna have to sip too.
Yeah. Okay.
I can't.
Okay.
We're really nice people. We can't say these things out loud. It's just for
I
private.
can't think of anybody. I can't think of anybody.
What's the?
I mean, I'm sure if I really sat down and thought about it, I could. But
yes, I'm
really
sure that you
lucky.
can.
The people that you've heard of that I've worked with have all been really fucking amazing. So,
the biggest or the strangest or naughtiest shenanigans that you've done backstage. I don't mean at a cast party. I mean literally backstage.
I mean,
shenanigans.
I totally had sex backstage.
Same.
Was it during Joseph? Wait, during the show?
No. During the show, yes.
Yeah.
Trixie Mattel was on stage for 2 hours.
Oh, I thought you were saying it was with Trixie Mattel. I was gonna be like, wow.
No.
All right.
Do not put that out in the world.
Well,
Alexander.
it's out there. You were like, go, Joseph, over there.
No, that did not happen.
Alexa, what show did you have sex during?
I can't say that, but sure did.
You
I
go,
want to
girl.
know. I don't know anything.
All these things in private.
Do you know what this evening has taught me, Alexa, is that I don't know you at all, and that we need to have a long dinner with tapas and wine.
I'm an old broad. There's a lot that's happened, but there's a lot more to come.
Okay. West Side Story, new West Side Story film, smash or pass?
Oh,
Smash.
smash! Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Dear Evan Hansen film, smash or pass?
Also, smash. I'm gonna say smash. I fucking love that show.
I don't love that show. I understand why everybody likes it.
I want to play the mom so bad, but I'm 5'1".
You should play the mom. You should play the mom tomorrow. Like, you should play the mom tomorrow. And I like the more I like the score. There's just something about the story that's always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I just feel old when I think about. I have this thing where I'm just like, could we put less backpacks on Broadway? Like, I'm in my mid-30s. I don't give a shit what happens to people in high school anymore. You know, less backpacks on Broadway.
Okay, and finally, what is the most overrated musical?
Kinky Boots.
Yeah, I get that one a lot, by the way.
God, why did everyone like that so much?
Because the message.
We had a show that was better than that with the same message. It was called La Cage. It opened before I was born.
I don't really know my answer to this question. I'll say there's a lot of underrated musicals that I really like.
That's so high road. I love you.
Yeah, it is so high road. That's not what we're here for, Alexa. That's not truth or sip. Truth and be wonderful.
I'm so bad at tea, like in the moment. I'm not in real life, but I'm bad at it in the moment.
Did you
The
say?
cameras are on.
Did you say Godspell? What? No, you didn't say.
I like Godspell.
Oh, I just don't think Godspell gets overrated. Like I don't hear people like talking about it as much, but I really can't stand that show.
Yeah.
People ask for it at Marie's, and I'm like, I don't know that.
I'm thinking of the underrated ones. Like I can't get them out of my head. Like Titanic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
King Kong. Like I'm obsessed. And, I mean, people are on the Secret Garden train, but the Secret Garden. Like I'm like these.
I
are
love the
underrated.
Secret Garden.
Did you just say
I-
King Kong?
I'm not gonna lie. I want to be in King Kong so fucking bad. That
You
okay.
liked King Kong?
What is
and
not
you're
to
on
like?
She's
my
so
album?
nice.
What is not to like? It's a giant, awesome puppet with fun music, and it's like it's great.
You can take the girl out of Long Island.
Yeah.
That's all I'm gonna
Long
say.
Island.
Basic.
All right, Alexa, tell everybody where you want them to find you and follow you.
Oh my god. DM me, find me, say hi. My social media handle
Flip into her DMs.
is at Alexa Green, like literally the word at, because people always mess that up.
Yeah.
It's the at sign. Oh, my hair. The at sign at Alexa Green. No E, like the color. I say that, people laugh at me, and I'm like, why are you laughing? They mess it up every time. They say, oh, with an E. I'm like, no, like the color, like green.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on Facebook. I never tweet, but I'm on there. But Instagram, I also don't have TikTok. Can you believe it? Because I'm a little exclusive. So, but yeah.
I love everything about you. I cannot wait till you come visit LA. Little birdie told me that I may be going to New York in the next couple of months, so we will definitely have to do a chill night with Brandon.
Love it.
Yeah, and then you can tell me what you were going to say that you had to sip for.
Absolutely, I sure will.
All right, we're gonna take a little look at your duet. You'll see, and when we come back, we are talking about Brandon's career, growing up in Nashville, and we're gonna talk about almost dying. All that and more after we take
light fare.
just a little light fare to end the show with. But first, let's take a look at You'll See.
Moving slowly has only furthered the feelings that we both know.
We were dancing in perfect circles, but that doesn't soften the blow. Different pages and different angles, that's what we liked about us. Please don't leave.
I know that you want more.
Oh, if you go, there's a truth we can't ignore. I will lose the new favorite part of me. If this ends here, you'll see. We don't need to be like anybody else. We can move in our own time. Please don't leave. I know that you want more. Oh, if you go,
There's a truth we can't ignore.
I will lose the new favorite part of me. If this ends here, you'll see. You'll see.
You'll see.
You'll see.
You'll see.
All right, you'll see. All right, Brandon. Let's get down. Get down to brass tacks. Growing up in Nashville, I'm sure it's very rich with music, but it's also not considered like one of the most, gay friendly. What was it like growing up in Nashville?
It's funny because, I mean, I'm not trying to give away any numbers, but growing up for me was like the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's unfortunate, but I think that America has changed. And where I grew up particularly, which is a suburb of Nashville, it wasn't quite as, I mean, at least it didn't seem like to me at the time, it wasn't quite as politically divisive as I see things now. Like, unfortunately, and this drove me crazy the other day, there was this kid who went to a school I went to, by the way, which made it hurt even more, who went to the school board and asked for the mask mandate to be kept up because people aren't getting vaccinated in Tennessee and they're dying of COVID. And his grandmother had died of COVID. And when he mentioned that in the school board meeting, people laughed at this child.
That video went viral.
And it went totally viral. It was on Newsweek. It was all this stuff. That's my county. That's the county I fucking grew up in. So, like, and as much as, like, that was definitely there, because those people, those monsters that we're talking about in the press, they've always been there. We've just amped things up, and now they're like, coming out into the world. But, so that was always kind of there. And, like, yeah, it's no fun to be gay in places like that, especially when there's like the religious undercurrent that's going on. But it's kind of also like, I was very lucky because it wasn't the heat wasn't on like it is in America now. And so you could kind of fly under the radar. And theater and music is where you find your people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all those terrible productions of Joseph I did in the 90s, that's where I found all the gays that I ended up being friends with. And that's when
And you're like, all the brothers, I had them.
I had at least two, okay? At least two.
Two out of all of those? Come on.
How many are there again?
There's 12 total, 12 tribes of
12
Israel.
others, yeah.
You did the show how many times?
I had two that I know of.
That you know of?
I have to think about it, It's been a long time.
What I marvel at, when we talk about your resume and everything that you've accomplished, it really kind of makes your eyes kind of bug out. It's like, oh my God, I'm not doing enough. Because
it only makes me feel that way when you say it all out loud like you did earlier. I was like, shit. Maybe I should go on vacation.
But it is a lot from all these different projects, and it's such a different energy. Yes, it's all in the entertainment business, but it's such a different energy, and it takes so much hard work in separate journeys, so to speak. You want to get paid as a musician. You have to pay your bills, so you take gigs, you release an album, you tour with other people, you produce for yourself. How do you know what to focus on next?
That's a really great question, and I don't even really know. I think that there's always like a little bit of, all right, where's my next paycheck coming from? Because I've been lucky enough to be a freelance musician for not quite 10 years. And sometimes it's working in bars in New York performing, and sometimes it's going on tour with Trixie Mattel, and sometimes it's making an album for someone else who has a bigger reach than me. And sometimes it's like teaching private lessons. I don't know. I've had to diversify where the money comes from to be able to stay afloat. And that's been a big influence on like what I'm working on next. But really, I think that like my work with Ella Roach Cherry has always been kind of pulled from the headlines. Like, what are we seeing America go through? We write particularly queer and particularly American things in the musical theater. And then I'm really drawn to artists that I like. Like I wrote this song to work with Alexa, and it just kind of all happened together because I always want to work with Alexa. I'll be working with her as long as she'll have me, because that we kind of became friends through the work. And so like it's half like I have to get paid and pay my bills, and half I kind of like to keep it a little bit open-ended, but there's always like 5 or 6 things that I want to talk about the human condition, or about like what's going on in America. And it's like whatever seems to make sense in the timeline of my life at that moment, and then also might come with a paycheck. I've done on so many different things, basically out of necessity, but I've gotten to learn how to do all those different things by just doing them, which is like lucky as hell, I realize.
When did you start actually sitting and scoring and writing music? Because I know you went to NYU's graduate musical theater writing program, but had you been writing music before that?
Yeah, I wrote my first song when I was like 8. And I would write like country pop songs from the time I was like 8 to 12. I was obsessed with like Leanne Rimes, and I don't know if you know who Lila McCann is, but she was like, if I could write, yeah, Lila McCann had like 2 albums in like the late 90s. It was when like after Leanne Rimes, there was this huge like push of all of these like 16 to 22-year-old girls, like what's the one who sings, I am Rosemary's granddaughter, the spitting image of my father? That girl, whatever her name. Jessica Andrews. There's Jessica Andrews. There's Lily saying, that sounds like a drag queen. But there's all of these like things. And I wrote tons of songs, like little songs that weren't really about anything. Like so-and-so broke up with me. What did I know? I was 12. But like in the style of those kind of like 3-minute pop country songs, like everything Martina McBride ever sang, everything Jody Messina was doing on that fabulous album, everything Faith Hill was doing. So girl country. And then musical theater was something that I really responded to from a young age. I saw Cats, if you will, when I was like, my parents took me to see it at the Tennessee Performing Arts Center in probably like 91 or maybe 90. I was like 5 or 6. And I just thought it was really cool that all that shit was going on at the same time, the dancing and the costumes and singing and all that stuff. And it was just different music. It wasn't like music that I heard on the radio. So I was really interested in it. All kinds of music have always interested me. And
now,
so
I have to tell you, I see a singer and, they go through vocal instruction and they learn how to read music, or they can, hear a song and then able to sing it. I understand that kind of process. I understand a piano player learning how to play piano. A craft that boggles my mind and I have such awe for is music writing. So I want to kind of know what your creative process, especially when you started writing at such a young age. Were you writing down lyrics? Were you actually writing the notes down on a score sheet? Were you just kind of playing away at the piano? How music writing is so different for everybody. So share with us your process.
It's different for everybody, and it's hard to talk about.
Yeah,
it's hard to put it into words, because if you could put it into words, then you could write a book about it.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like for me, it's always been about a style and of a tonal or harmonic world that I know I'm going to be in. So it's like, usually if I'm writing an up tempo or mid tempo, I hear a guitar riff or a drum beat right off the bat. I know exactly what kind of feel I'm going for. And then the melody and the lyrics kind of happen at the same time for me. And then these days, I don't write anything down until I absolutely have to, because it's a pain in the ass to write it down. So I just like record it into my phone and like to remember it, and then I'll write it down if like I got to teach it to somebody else. But it's just kind of comes at the same time, which I know is just kind of a fake answer. But some songs don't. Sometimes I've written songs on a plane where I didn't have anything to play, so I just wrote all the lyrics and thought I knew what the tune was, and then I get to a piano or a guitar and I'm like, oh, this is how it really goes. But it depends on the song and the assignment. I've been paid to write a lot of shit, and then it's just kind of like, all right, they need this by Thursday. I better figure out what the hell it is.
So how did you kind of do that natural kind of ability, and then how did you kind of go to this graduate program when you're told this is how you write music, this is the structure? Was it hard to kind of adjust to that, or?
It was so hard.
I can imagine.
And Danny Larson, who's an amazing writer in his own right, was the program coordinator at the time. And the amount of, and he can vouch, the amount of times I went into his office in tears, begging them to let me quit, as if I needed their permission. I felt so behind, because I had a degree in theater and dance and music as a singer, dancer, actor. I thought I was going to be a chorus boy on Broadway. And I applied to NYU kind of on a lark with one musical that I had written, never thinking I'd get in. And I got in, and so I went, and I was like, the first year, it's like me with my 17,000 country songs that are all 3 minutes and the same, and then the star student from the Sydney Opera Workshop, and the 17 composers from Korea who all have ridiculous backgrounds who can sight read the crumbs on a napkin. It was just I was coming in with fractions of what some of these other folks that were in my class were with the guns they were bringing to the table. And like, I felt very overwhelmed, and I immediately like wasn't delivering, and I felt like I was in the wrong place. And it just took some time. It took some time to like trust myself to try and make mistakes in front of these crazy talented people. And then once I did, and I got comfortable with them, and then I could kind of try lots of different things. And I mean, I have to say, those 2 years changed me. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you because I wouldn't have made any more music after that if I hadn't stayed and figured it out.
Interesting. I think that's a good message for people, to work through obstacles, even if it's out of your comfort zone. I talked a little bit earlier about when I studied music, when I really studied music, it took all the joy out and it was so structured. I left the music program and I went to the theater program, but I was in tears. I was so miserable that I never thought I was going to sing again. I hated the idea of music so much because it stripped it. And I'm wondering if I would have stuck with it, what would have happened. So I think the message is just to really persevere. Wasn't your first piece, by the way, that got you in about underwear or something?
Oh my God. Yep. The first show I ever wrote, I wrote it with this awesome comedy writer named Heidi Irvin. And she was just like the star playwright of my undergrad, really. Heidi was just writing some really cool shit that was dark but funny. And I had a dumb idea, and I mean the dumbest, for a musical. So I went to her and I was like, I've got this idea. I have this treatment. I have a couple songs. What do you think? And she like took a weekend and then came back with this hilarious treatment and outline. And we wrote a musical together, having no idea how to write a musical. We were literally just like listening to Hairspray and then trying to write something like that, or listening to Wicked and trying to like kind of approximate it. And we made a musical called Underwear, a Space Musical. And it ran. My undergrad was crazy enough to produce it. They've produced it twice, by the way.
I love that.
And the production went really well. It was really well received. And so we applied to the Fringe Festival in New York, the International Fringe Festival, in a year I'm not going to say out loud. And we got in. And it opened in New York. And it was the only piece of musical theater I'd ever thought I would write. So I sent it to NYU, never thinking they'd let this dumb gay into the department. But they did. And apparently it's full of dumb gays. So like I eventually fit right in.
You talked about your boo a little bit. You guys are going to go have some Asian food and some sake. But I want to talk about having a boo. When I look at how busy you are all over the place, and putting your energy into recording and your album, and then almost dying, which we're going to talk about, you lead the life of a very busy entertainer. With that comes, hanging out with hot chorus boys and coming home super late, going out partying at times, and also the hard work of having to work there or work during the day and work through some of this music and kind of be in your head a little bit. How do you maintain a healthy relationship when this kind of entertainment lifestyle is what you have to focus on?
I think that I think it's basically impossible. I happen to have chosen someone who is basically a superhuman and has the tolerance for this, because I'm insane.
Yes,
and
I witnessed that firsthand.
When I work in New York, usually at Murray's Crisis, I mean, I don't get out of the bar with the cash that I've made that night until like 4:15. So I come home at like 5 a.m. sometimes, and my partner is what I call a muggle, or a non-show business regular person. He works 9 to 5 Monday to Friday,
wow.
Which is actually kind of the key. Two people in show business, I don't know how like people that are in show business and in relationships do it, because I think there's just a little bit of like crazy. There's like you've got to be a little nuts to want to do this for real. And Matthew is also nuts in a completely complementary and different way. He's positive and I'm a little darker. We're just very complementary. And when things are crunchy, it's all about communication. Yeah, like setting real expectations. I'm at a point in my life where I'm just kind of like, this is what's happening, and this is what I want, and this is what I expect from you. What do you expect from me? Let's be very, very communicative about it, because our schedules are basically opposite. We have to talk about just about everything that's going on in our lives to just know where the hell we're going to be on a Tuesday, So it's really just about talking like crazy, which drives me crazy because I want to come home and shut up because I get paid to talk to everybody all day, and Matt doesn't. So Matt comes home and he's like, "Oh my God, how'd you do?" And like Tori Scott, who I love, is a wonderful performer and comedian, and she is one of our best friends. And we've done a lot of Vacations together. And Tori and I are like grumpy, brooding performers who, like, if you get us up and ask us to do anything before noon, we're like, oh God, here we are. And Matt's like, Matt's like dancing around like a fucking Mickey Mouse Club. And Tori and I are always just like, well, this one, you know. But it's like, it's perfectly common. We're just so different that it works. And I wish I could elaborate more, but it's I think he's just the best person ever, and I'm the worst person ever, and, you know, opposites attract.
Let's talk about what you went through during COVID. You went through a lot. Not only did you have to kind of shift to doing digital shows, we know that gigs were gone, and then you literally almost died. When I saw on social media what was going on, I was like, what is happening? Can you tell our audience a little bit what you went through, and the scary level it actually went to?
Yeah, it's nuts. Alexander, this is the first time I'm talking about it publicly. I had to have open heart surgery. I am in my mid-30s, and we're going to leave it at that. But it turns out I had a birth defect. It's actually quite common. It's called a VSD, a ventricular septal defect, which is basically a hole in your heart. And these days, if you're an infant with a VSD, they find it before you leave the hospital, and they repair it, and you never, you know, you don't advance in any age because when you leave the hospital to go home as an infant, they've repaired it. Like literally, there are specialists who use like microscopic tools to fix holes in infants' hearts, and then they get sent home with like a repaired heart. Or they monitor the hole because it eventually will close. Well, somehow mine slipped through the cracks, and I got an infection. We still don't really know how I got this infection in my bloodstream, and the infection found a little home in the hole that was in my heart, and we couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong with me. I didn't go to the emergency room right away because it was COVID central, and I was, we were told not to go to the ER unless it was like something that we, obviously was going to kill us. And so there was a day when I couldn't move my arms or legs because I was fully septic. And my partner Matthew put me in a cab, and he went with me, and we went to the ER, and I was in the hospital for 32 days. With them trying to clear the infection from my blood, and it wouldn't clear because of the VSD. So eventually I had to have open heart surgery to correct the VSD and to replace my aortic valve because it unfortunately went down in the infection. And so they replaced it with a piece of carbon that cost more than a house, thanks to my health insurance. I didn't owe any money on that. And yeah, it's clicking away right now. You probably can't hear it, but it actually clicks, which is very fun in a recording studio. And,
it's a metronome. It's like, no, bitch, we got to do faster tempo.
I wish it was a metronome. I don't have a pacemaker. Like my brain and my heart pumps normally, but you can just hear the clicking because they have it's called a mechanical valve, and it clicks when it closes. So yeah, I just have to wear like a thick sweater when I want to record now. But I mean, I have to say it's almost been a year, and when I went into the hospital, Bullet wasn't done. And when I didn't know what my fate was, Ella Rose Cherry, who was my brilliant friend and co-writer, called me, and she was like, I know you're in the hospital. I know that it's bad, but the Richard Rodgers Award deadline is tomorrow. Are we sending TLDR? TLDR is the show that won, because it's kind of like something out of a Lifetime movie. Because if you submit a show to the Rodgers Award and it doesn't win, you can never submit with that show again. It has to win or nothing. And so I remember saying, and I'm very dramatic, I remember saying on the phone to Ella, I was like, Ella, if we win the Richard Rodgers Award, there's a damn good chance I'll have to accept it posthumously, so send the fucking show in. And that didn't happen. I had the surgery with flying colors. I haven't had a fever or sickness since. I went home in a week after the surgery, and then we won the goddamn Rodgers Award. So like, it's been a very tumultuous period of my life. But part of it was coming out of this, and like I could barely walk for months, and I was on IV antibiotics for months, and I was like, I'll be damned if I don't finish Bullet and get it out, because as much as I didn't write it about this experience, every single lyric and every single chord in that album has become about this experience, and it's been wildly fulfilling to put it out in the world and let people listen to it. So I'm grateful for a lot of things, and I'm not one to be very grateful.
Well, I have to tell you, in seeing your journey and having met you and being such a fan of your career, it kind of was a wake up call for everybody. It's like we literally are on borrowed time. We're dying every day, so to speak. And then to see you come out of it and then finish the album and then promote it and send it out the way that you did. It's such a powerful testament to you as an artist, as a human being, but it's also an inspiration to other artists to, hey, no matter what adversity you go through, just keep doing the damn thing. So tell us what Bullet, which is your debut album, tell us what Bullet is all about. Tell us what you want us to get from it.
Sure. It's my debut full-length album. I
Yes,
released an
you have an
EP of 5 tracks. And the thing about that is I cranked that out with songs that I'd already written to have something to sell to the wonderful people that bought tickets and came to see me opening for Trixie in 2018. Trixie was like, you need to make an album so that you can sell it to people that are going to be buying my album that you produced. And I was like, all right, I mean, I've written hundreds of songs. I'll pick 5 and put them on this album. And the process of that was like fast and dirty, but very fulfilling. And I sold out of everything that got printed. There's barely anything left of that album, and it's done well on Spotify and stuff like that. So I was just kind of like, all right, I really loved that experience. What would it be like to actually start with an album in mind and write everything for the album and all that? So I wrote the beginnings of this album literally from the tour bus, like rolling around probably somewhere in Indiana or something, on Trixie's tour bus. And I was actually going through a breakup at the time, and I was coming to terms with like what a career for me that straddles musical theater and piano bar entertainment and being queer and being political about that and drag entertainment, what all that meant. Like, who gives a shit what Brandon James Gwinn has to say? And that's kind of what Bullet became about, because I was constantly getting in my own way. I was constantly, giving into my imposter syndrome of, who the fuck do you think you are? Who wants to listen to this? What do you have to say? And so Bullet is spelled the way it's spelled because it really is a shortening of bullshit it, like bullshit it, Brandon, like fake it till you make it. And even Not Too Late is about how I'm making solo material now at the age that I'm at, which I don't say out loud, because I'm not 18 and I'm not making solo material in my, about my youth. I mean, it kind of is. Bullet's basically about what I went through in my 20s, but I think that it's not too late to do. I hate like 30 under 30 lists and stuff like that, because I just feel like if you want to make some art and you hope people listen to it, just make it. And it's something that I say and try to believe in every day, but with varying levels of success.
I just love talking with you, and I wish our audience could know how much fun it is actually being in your presence and partying with you until the late night, but then seeing you, like I said, behind the piano. It really is. It's an experience.
We had fun on that cruise.
Oh my God, girl. We had so much fun. It set the bar so high, though. It's like, I expect every night out to be a week gay cruise. Like, we're going to have that kind of fun. Or when you meet
another Vakaya cruise. I just came back from Iceland.
Yeah, that was a little pricey for me. I was like, okay, I'll see you when you return.
It was nuts. I saw lava and whales. Like, I ate caviar and I swam in a thermal spring. Like, it's very not me. It's very a little high rent for me.
You poor thing. Poor
and then I
thing.
sang I sang hits from the prom at night.
If you can find one. Just kidding. I'm gonna get in trouble.
Beth level. Anytime she opens her mouth, it's a hit.
Yes.
So I don't care.
Brandon, thank you for sharing your story. Also, you are going to be featured in the next issue of Metrosource magazine, and I happen
interviewed by a very, very interesting person.
Yes, and so we actually get in. We get in a little bit deeper in that. So catch that issue when it comes out next month. But thank you so much for spending time with us. Thank you for bringing Alexa to play. And like I said, when if I come to New York in the next couple of months, which I think is going to happen, I will definitely hang out. And the both of you need to come to LA, by the way.
Yeah, we should book a performance out there.
Yeah, I can help. I know a few people. Mm-hmm.
We'll make some calls.
Yeah, and Sutton Foster can open for you.
I don't think she's ever gonna.
Girl.
I'm gonna get. I guarantee you, I wake up to a few texts.
Brandon.
I'm screwed. I'm never gonna work in New York again.
That's so hot. Brandon, tell everybody where you want them to find you and follow you.
Great. At Brandon James G on Instagram, you can find everything I'm up to. Or if you go to websites still, I do have a website. It's brandonjamesgwinn.com. There used to be this thing called a browser, and you could go to websites.
No, I love your website,
yeah,
and Alexa has a great
at
website
Brandon
too.
Alexa does have a great. Alexa has a great
Everything, yeah.
She's really just kind of great. She has fucking coasters where she's not wearing a shirt. Like,
I mean, all the cool kids have coasters, Brandon. I'm going to send you and Alexa coasters
where's my coasters?
and a flask.
All I
And
have is this damn cassette tape.
I'm going to up you one. We're going to send you some flasks, too.
I don't know what I'll put in them.
I love it so much.
I have had this much sake.
I mean, sake's not really alcohol. Like, Pinot Grigio is not really alcohol. Like, you can drink the whole thing, and it's fine. It's not like vodka.
Is that in your coffee table book?
Yeah. All right, Brandon, thank you so much. Again, a huge thank you to our other guest, Alexa. And that's all, folks. It's always a grab bag of fun here every week on the Rocks. Big thank you to our guest, my engineer, Tony Sweet. He did an okay job. Our social media clip editor, Alexis Mendez. Our researcher, Mama Rose. And again, if you are in SoCal, come to Palm Springs and see me and America's Got Talent's Cameron Ross for an evening, October 14th at 7 p.m. at OscarsPalmSprings.com. Coming up, we have adult film star Michael Boston coming to talk about OnlyFans and life in the adult industry after COVID. We have Netflix Sugar Rush's Leo Botello. Also, America's Got Talent Cameron Ross is coming. We also have Warren Egypt Franklin from Grownish, and he's currently touring as Lafayette Thomas Jefferson in Hamilton, the national tour, and he's actually going to join us literally right after performing. So that's going to be really exciting. Share, subscribe, love us to keep this programming coming at you for free. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay sexy, stay tipsy, and we'll see you next Tuesday. This has been another episode of On the Rocks. Tweet me and slide into my DMs on Twitter and Instagram at On the Rocks On Air. Find everything On the Rocks for free at OnTheRocksRadioshow.com. Subscribe, like, review, and share. Until next week, stay fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, go eat, go drink, go to bed.
Good night. Thank you.
But let's definitely talk in the next week. Let's talk about getting you to the West Coast because GED Magazine is... we're now producing some concert series. We're bringing out Robert Bannon next month. I don't know if you guys know who he is. But let's talk about bringing you both out. That would be a lot of fun.
It would be so good. We could do a double bill.
Yeah, and there's like many cities here on the West Coast that we could just